Zach, I'm just going to go grab the case files. I just realized I left them downstairs. I'll be back in just 30 seconds or so.
Sure.
Okay, Zach, you guys are up and live.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Zachary Karen. I am the chairman of the Dighton Zoning Board of Appeals. It is Wednesday, July 29th, 2020, 7:04 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely. This is our regular meeting. Before we begin, I would just like to read the disclaimer we have on the top of the agenda that has been posted publicly as well. Due to COVID-19, this public hearing will be held remotely with no physical meeting location. Those seeking to provide public input should do so using the methods listed below. Video and audio of the meeting will be aired on local TV channel 9 at a later date. A live recording of the meeting will be available on the Town of Dighton YouTube channel, which can be accessed using this link, and that's www.youtube.com/townofdighton, all one word. And then those seeking to participate in public hearing may join the meeting at the following link, and that's www.bit.ly/DightonZBA, all lowercase, all one word, -07-29-2020. Attendees will be muted during this meeting and will be unmuted during the public input for each case. Public input can also be submitted in advance via phone at 508-669-6431, extension 119, or at email that will go to Jonathan Gray, our office manager, and his email is the letter J, GRAY at Dighton-ma.gov. Please include the subject property address as well as your own address for the record. And as a disclaimer, I know it's not ideal, but unfortunately, I'm just going to be attending the meeting with audio only. Last meeting we had for zoning board, we had some issues where towards the end my connection was not very good, so I didn't want to risk that happening again. So I will be seeing all the documents and everything that's going before us today. I will just be attending with my audio. Hopefully that will prevent any kind of connection issues. So tonight I would like to just introduce the members of the board. Again, I'm Zachary Karen, the chairman of the board. We have Jonathan Gray, the office manager, and Greg Logan, the vice chair. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right, and we have Michelle Lima. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the clerk, correct?
Yes.
So that being said, just remember tonight you will be having to assign voting members for the cases, and we'll get into that when we get to each case.
Okay.
And then members of the board, we have Jonathan Gale. Are you here, Jonathan?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. And we have Ryan as well. Ryan, this is your first meeting. I mean, that you are attending as a member. I know you've been attending the Strawberry Fields meetings, but you know, it's kind of more observing at that point, seeing as you join later on, but this is your first live meeting, so to speak.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, excellent. And then we have Peter Karen, and Peter, Ryan, and Jonathan are members of the board as well. So that being said, we're going to take the cases, the agenda a little out of order today. We're going to skip to setting the next public hearing date. And the reason why is usually we do this at the end of the meeting, but in lieu of any of these cases needing to be continued, whether it's due to time or due to the board needing to take things under advisement, we want to make sure the applicants are aware of the next date. So that being said, I don't know if you guys have, members of the board have seen the meetings calendar online. So Cable, just to make sure, you guys are now able to broadcast more than one meeting at once, is that correct? Hello? Can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
Okay,
Cable.
so,
We had discussed previously, we weren't sure if Cable Commission or committee was able to broadcast 2 meetings at one time. So we're just looking for clarification on that, if anyone from Cable is able to answer that.
Hey, sorry about that. We
That's all right.
unfortunately are not able to go live with our town accounts at the same time.
and then Jonathan, Jonathan Gray, as we discussed earlier this evening, that is okay, correct? As long as we are able to have a means of which the public can listen.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we would only be able to go live on YouTube on one platform or one meeting at one time. But if we are providing access to the public through the Zoom platform, then there would not necessarily be a need to live stream on YouTube. Although it would be preferred, but not absolutely necessary if we're providing with the public with the ability to join the Zoom meeting as we have several members of the public here tonight.
Right, and just so the members of the public who this may be your first meeting you're attending via Zoom, typically this is not an issue, but due to obviously COVID-19 and the means of which to broadcast a meeting is kind of limited, and with being pulled in a bunch of different directions, it is a little more chaotic than usual to set a next meeting date. So that being said, Cable, it's probably best that we meet on a day where there's no other meeting, correct? So we don't risk into another meeting going along before us.
That would be preferred. And actually some meetings are some boards and committees are meeting, the smaller boards that can fit into Old Town Hall, they're actually meeting in person. So it would be worth checking, even if you do find it best to have a meeting the same day as another board or committee, to see if they're one that do meet in person. Because if they meet in person, we don't go live on YouTube for them. So we could potentially have 2 meetings the same day at the same time, just depending on who's on Zoom and who's in person.
Okay. That being said, is there any day in August, or days, I should say, in August, that that are absolutely out for any of the zoning board members?
August 20th doesn't work for me, Zach.
So, and that would be a Thursday. That's okay. That this Concom has, it's like 2 meetings that night. It looks like, I can't tell based on the town meeting website. So that would be tough anyway. Anyone else?
I can't do the 11th.
Okay, and again, that day looks pretty full anyway. All
What
right.
Mr. Chairman, what if
Sure.
we put out August 10th? Would that work for the members of the board?
It's Monday. Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that would be any issues. So that being said,
Mr. Chairman, would
Okay,
that be enough
sure.
time for posting?
that's what I was just going to say, Jonathan. So if we, let's say we have to continue none of these or one of these, and we have something new that comes before us, will that give you enough time to get anything out?
So I don't believe we would need to do another certified mailing, because this is the meeting that they would be notified of. So they would be notified of the continued date if we did choose one at this meeting, much like the Strawberry Fields meetings. We don't have to do a certified mailing for each one. So I would just need 48 hours in advance to post the August 10th meeting, so I have plenty of time to do that.
Right, but I guess I also meant too that if we have a new case that comes before us and we are able to get them in, that would be a regular meeting. It wouldn't be just to continue these cases. So if something new came before
I'm operating
you,
under the assumption that we don't have. Yeah, I'm operating under the assumption that we would be only hearing cases that we're hearing tonight at that August 10th meeting. If there was a new applicant, they would have to wait until our next meeting, whether that be end of August or September.
okay. All right, so that being said, I think August 10th would work. Before we put that to a motion, just one more time, is that a bad day for anybody?
I guess my question is, why are we picking a date? Why aren't we just having the regular meeting at the end of August?
Because our usual meeting day is the 26th, and that's when the selectmen are meeting. We
Okay.
are on the calendar. I'm looking at it right now on the town website for 7 o'clock, but
Right.
the board of selectmen at 6. I mean, am willing to bet, unless it's a short meeting or they end up canceling, they're going to go past 7 or at least 2-7, which is hard for cable.
Okay.
Unless we were able to, like I said, unless we were able to meet in person, but I don't think we're ready to necessarily take those steps yet. So
Right. Okay.
Well, let me ask, is this is Jonathan Gale, is the Board of Selectmen meeting in person at Old Town Hall? Because if they are, then we can still meet.
It actually is. So if you guys do that meeting, we could potentially go live. I want to double check with Mallory before I can confirm that though. Because
I would-
sometimes she does like a hybrid where she will go on Zoom. But I'd have to double check with her if that's the case. I'm not sure. We haven't heard yet.
I mean, if that were the case, I would propose that we meet the 26th at 7 o'clock. That way, if we do have other new business, we can begin with our old business continuing.
right. I mean, so I'm not opposed to that. It's just that, I wanted to make the motion now, or at least early this evening, so those that would want to attend that meeting would know, rather than having to wait and find out, and then it come to find out they can't make it that day. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would like to stick to our regular meeting date, trust me, but like I said, I don't want to risk finding out tomorrow, oh no, that can't work, when we've already told everyone that it would work.
The other option might be the 27th.
27th, the Thursday. Yep. The only reason why we never met Thursdays was for Marguerite, but this wouldn't involve her, so that would work. And Jonathan, as a refresher, Jonathan Gray, as a refresher, when's our next Strawberry Fields?
August 13th is our next Strawberry Fields, and also Marguerite may or may not be needed for our next meeting, depending on how the board feels they need additional input or whatever. So it's possible that we may need Marguerite, but I can't say for sure.
Right, and if there's anything 40, previous 40B that want to attend to. Okay, so if you want to stick with that week, we can do the 24th, the Monday. Does that work for everybody?
That works for Jonathan Gale.
24th
Oh.
instead of the 10th, correct?
24th instead of the 10th, correct. Also, especially
Yeah.
with our Strawberry Fields meeting that week, I don't want to, that's going to be a lot on all of us, so.
That works with
Okay.
me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Okay.
24th or 27th work.
Perfect. Okay, so that being said, why don't we do the 24th? So do I hear a motion to set the next public hearing date for our regular meeting to August 24th? And that will be 7 p.m. and that will again be via Zoom.
This is Jonathan Gale. I'll make a motion that we hold our next public meeting on the 24th of August at 7 p.m. And that if we do need to continue anything from this evening's meeting, that be opened with old business first.
All right.
Michelle Lima?
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All righty.
And so I'll just make the note that meeting will be on Zoom or YouTube, and that the information will be available to the public as soon as we have that, if we do need to meet on that date.
That is correct. All right. So that being said, we are going to go right in order now in terms of the first cases. So the first case we have is case number 1-20. That is 2276 Elm Street. Public hearing on the variance application to replace an existing non-conforming structure within the required 15-foot rear yard setback. So Michelle Lima, I will need 3 voting members. If possible, my father and I should not be on the same case. And again, if possible, we are going to try our best to not put Ryan on a case tonight, as it will be his first regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead, Greg.
all right, I just lost all video, but you can hear me. That's all that matters.
Yes, yep, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
So Michelle,
All right.
before we go into reading it, I kind of have 3 voting members.
Yeah, I'll do myself because I've actually driven by a couple times, and I will do, so myself, Peter Karen, and Jonathan Gale.
Excellent. Okay, so Michelle, do you happen to have in front of you the article that as it was published for the Taunton Daily Gazette?
I can, Mr. Chairman, I can take care of that tonight since I have them all in front of me, if that works for you.
Sure. Yep. If you would if you wouldn't mind, please
Sure.
posting that if you want to share your screen, as well as reading it as well for those who aren't able to see it.
Okay, I don't have it on my screen right now.
That's fine.
So I'll just read it, which is, okay, legal notice, Town of Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 7 p.m., held remotely on Zoom. Notice is hereby given that the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public hearing on the variance application of Angelo Elizzardo for the property located at 2276 Elm Street, shown on Assessor's Map number 20, lot number 140, pursuant to section 2720 setbacks and yards of the Town of Dayton zoning bylaw in order to replace an existing non-conforming structure within the required 15-foot rear setback. Members of the public attending this public hearing virtually will be allowed to comment on the proposal during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment. Members of the public seeking instruction for attending and participating in the hearing or seeking copies of the plans should contact the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-669-6431, extension 119, or by email at jgray@dayton-ma.gov. Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Zachary Karen, Chairman.
Excellent. Okay, so for those of you who are abutters to this case who have any comments to make, questions regardless, the way this is going to go, we will let the applicant will present their case, then we will turn it over to members of the board that have any questions or comments, and then we will turn it over to you guys for any questions, comments that you may have after we've already discussed that. So that being said, is the applicant present here this evening and ready to present? And again, just make sure you state your name and address for the record, please.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Angelo Elizzardo. I'm residing or owner of 2276 Elm Street in Dayton. I'm here to apply for a variance, as they said, section 2720 with setbacks and yards. First of all, I apologize because it's the first time I'm doing this, so I hope I don't say something out of order or whatnot. And so please stop me if I do. The 2720 is the building located within 15 feet of my rear lot. It's a pre-existing non-conforming building right now. I've owned the property for 11 years. According to one of my abutters, Jim Duddy, he says that it's been here for about 25, if not 30 years. If you look at the site plan, if I were to shift or move this this pre-existing building within the bylaws of 2720, more than 15 feet, this would land on my pre-existing deck stairs that have been there since I've been here. And therefore, I wouldn't be able to utilize the garage or building for its purpose. If I were to shift it to the left side of my property, what the site plan does not show, there is a large locust tree and a maple tree on my left side of my border. And therefore, again, I will not be able to utilize the building for what it was built for. The main reason is a safety thing. This is 29 years old. There's leaks and all that. And I just want to replace the building that's there right now. The building will be built within the compliance of bylaw 2720 pertaining to the height. The building is 8-foot walls. Roof will have a 6-foot pitch, which is only 14 feet. Even if my foundation is a foot above the ground, which is the contractor is stating, it still be 15 feet high within bylaw 2740. I was reading about bylaw 2430 pertaining to a non-conforming structure being detrimental or hazardous to the neighborhood or my neighbors. I believe building a new one definitely would not be a hazard to my family and neither to the neighborhood. There will be no driveway in the future, because I use this garage to store a summer vehicle. So there is no future plans for a driveway. Just looking over my notes. I believe looking over my notes, I believe that's all the information that I have to give to the board. So pending any questions from the board, over.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I want to hear from the voting members first. Michelle, do you have any questions?
I just have one question. The letter from Todd Piling from Tuesday, July 21st says that the Board of Health has a different layout, including the shed slightly smaller and parallel. It says parallel to the property line, approximately 5 feet off of the line, not the 3 feet indicated on the attached sketch. I'm not really sure how much that plays into it. I've actually driven by here, so I know exactly what he's talking about. And I mean, it's not, if he's just replacing it, it's not really in the way of anything. It's just basically taking down a building that is unsafe for him to go into right now from the view from the road, and just putting into a new building. So I'm not quite sure if the Board of Health having a different plan is really is going to play into this at all. That's really the only thing I had, because
Oh, hello?
Michelle, I think we lost your audio there. You said something play into this at all, and then we lost you there.
And he actually answered my other question. I was wondering what he was going to do in regards to his driveway, because right now I know it doesn't lead anywhere to there, but he's already answered that. So I'm actually good with this one.
Okay. Peter, do you have any questions? Peter Karen?
Sure. First question, is this going to be the same footprint as what you have now?
Yes, sir.
So you're not making it any bigger?
No, sir.
So in a sense, I don't think you even have to be here. If you're replacing an existing structure, I know it's non-conforming, but you have the right to rebuild that structure as it is.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan, before I talk to Jonathan Gale, a quick question. Jonathan Gray, I know we have Jim Aguiar is not on this call. He didn't end up popping up, correct?
I would have to stop sharing my screen to see the participants.
That's okay. I can scroll and check really quick.
You don't believe he's on?
I do not see him, no. So, Jonathan, so we have no written correspondence from Jim regarding this case, because Mr. Elizondo, did you ever go to Jim Aguiar before coming to us, or did you come to us first?
I went to see Jim because I just went to go get a building permit, and that's when I found out that it was a pre-existing non-conforming building, and then I approached the zoning board under his guidance.
Okay, right. So, Peter Karen, I mean, I would assume that Jim must have had a reason for sending him here if he already had looked at the case, unless was Jim not aware of the details about the case?
Mr. Chairman, I will just read you an email. I'm just going through my emails. Basically, I said, "Hi, Jim. Just spoke with Angelo on the phone about the process. He's looking to demolish the pre-existing non-conforming shed on the property and move the location of the garage to the same location, which will be within the required setbacks. Just wanted to confirm with you, he will only need a variance for this, correct?" And Mr. Aguiar indicated, "Yes, you are correct, variance." So that was my directive, and so I proceeded with variance from there.
So, I mean, I guess it's possible that Jim wasn't aware of the details of the dimensions, right, then?
Mr. Chairman, may I speak for a second? I can
Yes,
help out
absolutely.
on this.
Sure, go ahead.
Greg Logan. The reason why I think that it had to come back in front of the board is the word that he stated in there was demolished. Once you take down a non-conforming structure, you're going to build it on the same foundation? Are you doing anything to the foundation, or was it on a foundation, or was it on wood?
No, sir, there was no foundation.
Okay, so here's what the situation became, Zach. It's a non-conforming structure, doesn't meet our setbacks, but it didn't have a footprint. The new one you're gonna put in is gonna be concrete, correct?
Absolutely, sir.
All right, there's where the problem became, Zach. That's why he's in front of us.
So now you'll have a footprint.
Correct.
Okay, that was a little confusing
Okay,
because.
Yep.
Because if there was a footprint already there, for example, if he had a concrete foundation, he could repair that without getting a variance or replace walls. But if there's no footprint, he's going to tear this down. There's not going to be anything there that he's actually going to be replacing. He's going to be building new, which is why Jim said to come get a variance.
okay. All right, so Jonathan, Gail, do you have any questions?
I just have a couple for now. So, sir, you said that this is going to be used as a garage. Is that correct?
To store a vehicle I use my tractor, my lawnmower, snow blower, and I have a summer vehicle that I store it in the wintertime. That's
Okay,
it.
but not for other vehicles such as a.
Oh, no, sir, no.
Okay, and are the dimensions of the building there, if I'm correct, are the same as they were, or they're slightly different?
We're talking maybe like 6 inches different because like I said, there was not the code. And the building right now is, I think it's like 23 and a half. It wasn't built to code. So I put down 24 because that's just, the closest I could get.
Okay,
That makes
and
sense.
is the drainage still going to be staying the same? Are you going to have gutters and drainage still in the same within your own
Gutters,
property,
yes.
or are you going to have runoff to other property?
Gutters that go into a 55 gallon barrel.
Okay, all right,
Which is
thank you.
disseminated into my yard.
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Before, are there any more questions amongst the board, voting members or non-voting members? No? Okay, are there any abutters that wish to be heard regarding this case? And just remember, if you could just state your name and your address for the record, please. All right, doesn't seem like there's anything. Jonathan, Gray, do you have any kind of voicemails or emails or any kind of written correspondence from abutters that aren't here tonight that have any concerns?
I don't believe I do. Let me just verify that while we're here. Mr. Zazmuda, you have your hand raised. Is there
Thank you. Okay.
is there a specific question related to this property? No. Okay. All right. And I don't see any emails. I have not received any phone calls. Just refreshing my email here. I will note that it's possible I might receive a phone call at some point during this meeting, as I have the public input routed to my cell phone. So if I am on the phone, it's probably taking public input if there is any. So I don't have any emails related to public input on this matter. So it looks like we do not have any public input for this case.
Okay. So that being said, I will turn it over to the voting members. You guys can discuss, anything you need to discuss, whether it's involving you need to see it, or you're ready to vote tonight, or whatever you may decide. So if you guys anything you guys want to discuss, go ahead.
Well, you're going to make a motion to close the public input.
Right. So now that's one thing I was about to say too, is that if Jonathan is on the phone, and he very well could have someone call in, call in 20 seconds from now, just with the way of which we're doing this meeting, Peter, how would you say, we do that? Like, I mean, if we close it now, but then we get a phone call, what do we do?
Well, I think you've given everybody enough time that
Okay.
it'd be no different than somebody walking into the meeting late after it's already been closed.
Right.
If
Okay.
it was a live meeting.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm just with all this, I'm just trying to cover our bases and make sure that we're not going to risk anything. All right. So that being said, Mr. Elizondo, do you have any final questions or comments you'd like to make? Because once we close the public input on this, there won't be anything else that you can add, whether it's physical or verbal, unless we ask it.
No, sir, I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So do I have a motion to close the public input for case 120 2276 Elm Street?
Mr. Chairman, you have a motion to close the hearing for 2276 Elm Street. Michelle Lima.
The public input.
The public and public input, sorry.
That's all right. All right. And is there a second?
Jonathan Gale.
Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the public input is now closed. So the three voting members, if you could discuss what you'd like to do with this case.
I think it's a pretty clear-cut issue. We have a
Same.
debilitating, I mean, it's a debilitated building that needs to be replaced. It's only going to improve the neighborhood. He's not expanding the footprint of it. And my opinion is it should be something that we allow.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like we discussed before, is that, you know, if it weren't for the whole footprint issue, he wouldn't even need to be here anyway. So
Right.
it's not anything out of the ordinary or anything special that, you know, that any special circumstances with this one. So
My only caveat would be that the applicant understand that this is clearly only for the storage of the types of vehicles that he noted, but not eventually for the storage of other vehicles such as a truck or a car or so forth, because that changes the whole footprint and requires driveway and so forth, so on. So as long as it's for the types of equipment that he's discussed, I have no objection.
I don't think you can put that kind of stipulation on. I mean, you can make a condition that says he can't use it, but that's kind of being a little unfair to him.
I would add it then as a condition, because then eventually, if otherwise there were a driveway, I would be concerned about drainage and so forth, and that might create other question marks.
Well, Jim is the
Well-
one who's responsible for drainage, not the zoning board of appeals.
May I add, though, you would have to drive across his entire lawn to get to this. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue in regards to the driveway.
Okay,
I drive by his house every single day, so I know exactly
All
what
right.
I was talking about.
okay.
Yep.
And I think
All right.
we're good to vote on it.
Yeah.
all right. So that being said, do I hear a motion to approve case 1-20, that's 2276 Elm Street?
This is Jonathan Gale. I will make a motion to approve the variance for Elm Street.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion, Michelle Lima.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, so that being said, voting members, we pretty much did this amongst our discussion, but just for the sake of Marguerite writing the decisions, if you could just state clearly your reasons for approving.
I think it's only going to be a plus for the neighborhood. He's not expanding the footprint. It's just taking an old building and making it new again.
All right, and Michelle?
I actually am going to also agree with Peter in regards to that. It's only going to benefit him. It's going to benefit the safety of his family, because the building that is there right now is in distress. And so I think this is a much needed replacement on his property.
Okay. And Jonathan?
I would agree with that. It's an aesthetic upgrade.
Excellent. All right. So, Michelle Elizardo, you are all set. Your case has been approved. The
Thank
next
you,
step
sir.
here, you're very welcome. Our attorney will be writing the decision. And once we receive the decision from the attorney, the voting members will go to town hall and sign the decision. And then at that point, you will be good to go. Is there any other questions that you have in terms of the process anyway?
I will
No,
just-
sir.
Mr. Chair, after the decision is signed by the voting members, there will be a 20-day appeal process
Oh, yep.
for any abutters who feel aggrieved by the decision. And then after that process, after that 20-day period, Mr. Elizardo can then file the decision with the Registry of Deeds and get a building permit.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. And before we dismiss him, I guess the same goes for any applicant here this evening. John, what is the COVID-19 process in terms of showing up to the office to sign things in person? I know things are kind of limited right now. So what is the best way for them to go about doing this?
Right now, the town hall is open to the public with no restrictions, besides requesting everyone wear a mask and try to socially distance. We would encourage people to set up an appointment, but really not necessary. Just give me a phone call if you want to stop by. That's or email. Anything is fine.
So, Mr. Elizardo, will be waiting to hear then from you once he's good to come in.
Absolutely.
I will-
I'll be in touch with Mr. Gray.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Elizardo.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Absolutely. You too, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Alrighty, so we will go into the next case. That is case 2-20. This one's also on Elm Street, but this address is 2792 Elm Street. Public hearing on the variance application to subdivide one existing house lot with insufficient frontage into 2 buildable lots with insufficient frontage. Before we read the case as it was written in the public Gazette, Taunton Daily Gazette, Michelle, I need 3 voting members.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, we're going to have to avoid the conflicts. We're going to have to repeat it to some extent, so that's okay.
Okay, I am going to actually put yourself, Zach Karen, Greg Logan, and I'm going to do Jonathan Gale on this one.
Okay, great. So, Jonathan, Gray, do you have the case before you that you can share or read as it was written in the Gazette?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I will read what was posted in the Taunton Daily Gazette. Legal notice, Town of Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 7 p.m. held remotely on Zoom. Notice is hereby given that the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public hearing on the variance application of John Bruce Zazmuda and Donna A. Canavan for the property located at 2792 Elm Street, shown on Assessor's Map 23, Lot 12, pursuant to Section 2620, Table of Dimensional Requirements of the Town of Dayton zoning bylaw in order to subdivide one existing house lot with insufficient frontage into 2 buildable lots with insufficient frontage. Members of the public attending this public hearing virtually will be allowed to comment on the proposal during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment. Members of the public seeking instructions for attending and participating in the hearing or seeking copies of the plans should contact the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-669-6431 extension 119 or by email at jgray@dayton-ma.gov. Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Zachary Karen, Chairman.
Excellent. All right. So the applicant may now present their case, whether it's the resident or they have someone, an attorney or a contractor here for them. So whenever you are ready, just again, state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roy Delano. I'm with Lighthouse Land Surveying, 27 Jefferson Street in Taunton. I'm here tonight representing Donna Canavan and John Zazmuda. They own the property at 2792 Elm Street. They've owned the property since 2002 when they received the property from their parents. The house and the land are currently vacant as Donna and John have established residences elsewhere. Donna and John's parents purchased the property in 1948. Donna and John grew up there through their childhood until they left for college. Donna came back for a certain period of time to care for her ill mother. But since that time, again, they've established residences elsewhere. Right now, no one is currently living in the house. The property consists of 34 acres of land, with approximately 27 acres of that as upland. The parcel has 200 feet of frontage, and beyond the first 470 feet, the property widens to 530 feet wide and continues back about 2,400 feet to the power lines and the area known as Hunter's Hill. The property contains a very prominent ledge outcrop being part of the Beals Ledge. There's an old farm road that starts near the house and meanders around that ledge between old stone walls, very scenic. And then it proceeds and heads toward the back of the property. At one time, it went all the way back to the power lines. It's very overgrown now in that section. We originally were approaching this as 2 retreat lots. The problem being that, and Jim Aguirre pointed this out, that the retreat lots were really designed for new construction. If the existing house were not there or had burned down over the years, it would be eligible for 2 retreat lots. Because it wouldn't be feasible to tear down the existing house, it's really not an option to tear down the house and go for 2 retreat lots. The area on the west side of Elm Street, from Hart Street to the Somerset line, consists of a lot of these types of lots. Very narrow in a north-south direction, very deep and long in a east-west direction, most of them going back to the power lines. Since 1991, 5 frontage variances have been granted for frontages varying from 16 feet to 149 feet. There are also 2 retreat, 40-foot wide retreat lots, one property removed from our locus to the south, that are currently being built. Homes are being built on those 2 retreat lots. The owners are seeking a variance for the 2 lots that we're showing on the plan. Lot 1 would have a frontage of 40 feet. It would contain 24 acres. Lot 2 would have a frontage of 160 feet and would have 9.5 acres. And for the Lot 1, of that 24 acres, there's about 19 acres that are upland of that 24 acres. On Lot 2, there is a total of about 7 acres that are upland. Lot 2 contains the existing house, which has a septic system and a well. Lot 1, there is an area where we tested the soil and there's suitable soil for a septic system, and a well would be installed on Lot 1. Lot 1 would have a driveway that would meet all the requirements of the fire department, very similar to what the retreat lot bylaw, the same thing as what the retreat lot bylaw would require for a driveway. Proper radiuses, a turnaround, width, and that sort of thing. Lot 1, which is the larger of the 2 and has no house on it currently, a gentleman named Ken Bell would like to purchase that Lot 1 and build on that property. Ken grew up in the neighborhood, very familiar with the property. So that's his desire to obtain Lot 1 and put one single family house on that. At this point, I will entertain any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Any members of the board with questions? Voting members first, if you have anything, please.
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan.
Sure, go ahead, Greg.
How you doing? I just got a couple of small questions in regards to this property here. I'm just curious of why on Lot 2, we added the entire long strip of 50-foot width all the way along across the lot one, for one question.
Sure.
The other question I see on this drawing is we have a 100-foot no touch to the wetland. You got a 75 to the driving, the turnaround. That's something I think conservation would have. That's really not us, but I just saw that. And
Yeah.
the other thing is when you said you had this land perked, where is the perk in conjunction to the footprint of the house now? Is it near the abutter's house or over towards the upland?
No, you can see as that 40-foot strip comes up and widens,
Yeah,
there's an area to the closer to lot 2 on the northeasterly side of the Woods Road
okay, I see it.
that has test pits there.
Okay,
So that there were good soils there, and it is downhill from the proposed house area.
and on the
Got-
property that's there now, looking to see here, it says Perry Andrea Brett 2822. Is there any tree line or anything going to be put around the property of yours from his boundary, or is there any growth now, or is there no growth?
Yeah, well, once you get up to, there's a probably up until you can see a couple boulders on the left.
Yes.
At that point, it becomes wooded, and the ledge outcrop, if I don't know if any members had a chance to walk the property, but it's very prominent 40 to 50-foot high ledge that blocks the view of any neighbors to the proposed house location. In the fall and spring, you probably have a great view from the top there, and it's like probably 200-foot long by 100 feet wide, the ledge outcrop, and 40 or 50 feet high. It's incredible. You know, it's a good buffer. It's a good shield from any neighbors.
And so
But
what was
as far as the first section of the driveway, no, I mean, you have the stone wall. In the summertime, you have some growth there, but you know, there's not a big buffer along that stone wall for the first 200 feet or so.
the driveway is going to stay in the same location that's existing now? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it's going to attach into, it's going to come off the road, and probably at about 150 feet, it'll get onto that woods road. It'll follow that woods road.
And what was the purpose of making the lot 2 all the way up to the back? You're not trying to put any kind of houses eventually through that 50-foot buffer zone, correct?
No, that's actually because we had this laid out as retreat lots, and you need 8 acres.
Right.
And then Jim said, well, you know, you've got an existing house there. And if you read the bylaw carefully, it kind of states that it's for new construction only.
The only reason why I say is if you knock down that house, eventually somebody ever purchase it, that looks to me as there's more land out in the back that could be done at a later date.
Right. And so we kept the same configuration that we had originally for retreat lots. And that was the purpose of that. And to give the prospective buyer of House 2792, there's really some nice trails when you get up in the back there, and it attaches to the property abuts Hunter's Hill, a lot of trails up there, giving them opportunity to have some recreational land back up in the back. So that was that reason. Regarding the buffer, yeah, it would have to go to conservation because it would be within 100 feet, that turnaround. There is a 50-foot no-touch buffer for a house and a 100-foot no-touch buffer for a septic system. The turnaround again would be within 100 feet, and we'd have to go in front of conservation and have hay bales there and get their approval for that.
I'm good at this time. Thank you.
All right, Jonathan, do you have any questions?
I don't have any right now, no.
Okay, Greg, you asked a couple of mine. And then any other members that have any questions?
Sure. On Peter Karen, in order for the board to grant a variance like this, there has to be some kind of hardship. What's your hardship on this land? If the gentleman who is going to purchase the house really wants to live there, he could buy the house that exists. So for what reason should the board grant this beyond an economic gain for the people who own the land right now?
Well, the hardship can be based on shape and topography of land. This land is 500.
Right, but 80% of the people who live in Dayton have this shaped land.
Yeah, and so the property is 530 feet wide. The land has never been subdivided.
Well, that's 530 feet wide at the widest point.
Well, yeah.
We're talking frontage, which is not
Right.
530 feet wide, and you can't take a non-conforming lot and make it more non-conforming by cutting into a third and creating two non-conforming lots.
Right. So hardship can be based on shape and topography, and the shape of this land is you're
Right.
30
I understand the reason for that to be in there, but
Okay.
That's for somebody who doesn't have a dwelling on their property. So if you came in and you had no dwelling, I could see the argument being the shape and the topography of the land, but you have a dwelling on this house, on this land. So you are able to use the land as fit.
Well, it is 34 acres, and
Yeah.
you know, if they were young, and like I say, they're probably in their 60s or 70s. I don't know their age, the owners, but if they were young, they could probably put 15 or 20 house lots on that.
Don't threaten us with, we can put 30
No,
houses
I'm
here.
That's not my
if-
intent. I'm just saying that is a good alternative here on 34 acres. And there's 5 other examples over the course of the past 10 years of these frontage variances being granted, because every one of these lots on Elm Street are very deep, narrow lots. And
Correct.
you know, the precedent has been set in the past that variances, people have understood that because there's so much land out there that, and we're only asking for one more house lot. So again, I know you may not agree with my hardship of shape and topography, but I think this is a great example. No hardship was created by our clients because the land has never been changed in shape. It's an old farm. If you had a chance to walk the property, you probably say this deserves to have one more house lot on it. It's just
Sure.
gorgeous land up and back there. It's a good use. So, you know, shape and topography is my hardship
Okay.
argument.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
I just had one more question. I'm sorry to intervene.
No,
Um,
no.
There's no town water on this street, on Elm Street. Isn't there supposed to be 200 feet of frontage, which he has now?
250 feet of frontage.
Yes, and we're already shy.
See, so you already have a non-conforming lot and you're going to make it more non-conforming. So you have a lot that's supposed to be 250 feet, it's only 200 feet.
Yeah, versus the 175. I was just picking that out.
Right.
Well, I can only, you know, every board's different over the years, for sure. I understand that completely. but
Sure. Absolutely.
Other boards have recognized that, and with 16 feet of frontage, there's a driveway down closer to the Somerset line that accesses and goes back 1,000 feet, if not more. And it's through 16 feet of frontage. And there are several other cases where they granted a variance. There's one at, and bear with me for 1 minute, at 2978 Elm Street. 2 variances were granted. One for 41 feet of frontage, one for 148 feet of frontage. So it had less than 200 feet of frontage. So there have been boards in the past that recognize the hardship of having lots that are 30 acres and limited to just one house on it. And in that case, on 2978, there was an existing house there. That's why they cut out 41 feet and kept 148 feet with the existing house. So again, there have been boards that recognize the hardship, and I totally respect your point of view, and everybody speaks their own,
Right.
opinion. But again, there's another one with 141 feet of frontage at number 2896, 141, and that was for an existing house. Again, 5 cases with a total of 4 cases and a total of 5 variances were granted for frontage.
Okay, do we have any members of the public on the call who have any questions, comments for the applicant or for the board regarding this case? Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I do have a question. My name's Chris Costa. I live at 2834 Elm Street, which is about 3 houses down from this proposed property. And my only question is, again, to what Mr. Logan said about keeping the trees and the privacy. We're about 500 feet back from the road. And if you were to clear that lot up until that bottom rock wall that is on your drawing, you'll have a clear view of my house. And part of the reasons why we purchased the house and moved here was for privacy and not to be bothered by anybody. So what is going to happen with that?
Is that one of the retreat lots?
Yes, it is. One of the retreat lots.
The one closest to the Locust property, our Locust?
Actually, no. The Locust property, the one that's closest to you is actually a driveway that goes through. We are on the other side of the driveway. We are already living here. Our house is fully built already.
Okay. Now, from my memory, I believe there's quite a hill that comes up from the Woods Road on our property to where the retreat lots were established. I believe that's quite a big hill there, and we're going to be more than 300 feet away from that stone wall with the proposed house.
Okay.
I doubt, and I can't speak for the prospective buyer, but I don't think he'll clear cut up that hill. Because I think it rises up to that stone wall that you're referring to, and then it flattens out to some extent to where your house might be.
Okay. I know when we purchased this retreat lot, it was in the deed that we were not to touch within 20 feet of our property line to remain, so that privacy could be remained between our neighbors. Is there anything that could be added to such property to make sure that that would not happen on your lot?
We are open to any suggestions, and you're the second lot, retreat lot, and that restriction was placed on the first retreat lot?
On both of the, actually, I'm not sure about my neighbor's retreat lot because that has nothing to do with me. I know on my retreat lot, I could not touch within 25 feet of the house that is in front of me so that I could, keep and respect their privacy as well as ours. And I would just like that privacy respected for us as well.
I'm certainly sure, because of the distance from the stone wall to the proposed house, that a buffer would not be an issue at all if it were, condition of approval.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there anybody else, members of the public on the call that have any kind of questions or comments?
I'll take Cynthia Robbins next. Cynthia, go right ahead and state your address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Robbins. I am at 2771 Elm Street. If this does get approved, can we put a deed restriction that these are the only 2 lots that would ever be approved, and that nothing does happen down the road, that they did try to do something to put more houses in?
Go ahead, attorney. Go ahead. Yep.
So as far as deed restrictions, that's a condition of retreat lots, and I'm sure there's no issue whatsoever, because we were going to go with retreat lots before. The thing you the thing you can feel good about is that if anybody ever wanted to further subdivide these parcels, they'd have to go in front of the board, either the ZBA or the planning board. And I don't believe anybody would be approving a further subdivision of the frontages as they are now.
But Cynthia, to answer your question, yes, that is something that we can put in. Members, Greg and Peter, would that be as a condition, or would that be something that we have to talk to Tim about when issuing the permit?
No, you can put it in as a condition. We've done that before, but I'm not sure that the appeals court in Boston would uphold that. It's never been challenged, but I think if somebody really wanted to challenge, the court would look favorable upon the applicant, saying that the board made an error in issuing a restriction of what they can do with their land. Anytime somebody could put a legal road in, and such as can be done now, and build houses with the frontages on that road that's put in, such as the attorney was saying to me as his argument that they could have put 15, 20 houses there if they were younger. That can be done, still done by raising the existing house that's there. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you can put a condition on it, but I'm not so sure it would hold up.
Mr. Chairman, I also spoke with Carrie Easterday of the planning board, and she seemed to indicate that there could be potentially a condition where the zoning board grants the variance, but asks the applicant to go then before the planning board to actually get an actual retreat lot granted by the planning board. So I'm not exactly sure of the mechanism, but the zoning board could potentially grant the variance, but not grant a house lot, and ask the applicant to go before the planning board. Because that was the reason why the applicant is before us, is because they can't do the retreat lot for the planning board.
Okay, is there any other public input amongst people who are on the call this evening? Jonathan, Gray, do you see anybody waving their hands or?
Yes, Stephanie Soares, I'm unmuting you now. And if you could, all right. Yes, you are unmuted. Please state your address for the record.
Hi, thank you. So I live at 2770 Elm Street. So the property that is right next to the proposed building lots. Again, my main concern would be that, later down the road, what holds security for the surrounding neighbors to ensure that there's not going to be any further properties built on the land. And I would agree and propose that they also do a deed restriction on the two properties that want it to be subdivided. And also I'm just concerned about, the surrounding neighbors. We do like our privacy, and Dayton is an area where they try to keep the land as rural as possible, being a pro-farming community. So again, just kind of keeping the land as pure and not knocking down potential trees and things like that. So again, the deed restriction would be good, and then just to kind of ensure that there's not going to be any further building besides the potential house that could possibly be built.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else, Jonathan Gray, that you can see?
Yeah, there's someone waving their hand, Andrea Perry. It's a gentleman with that name on there.
Yep, Jonathan Gray, whenever, if you can see them.
Yes, Andrea Perry, you're now unmuted, and please state your address for the record.
Yes, my name is Brett Perry. My address is 2822 Elm Street. We are the adjacent lot to the proposed lot 1. Had a couple of questions. I'm not opposed to the project at hand. Just a couple of questions, maybe concerns. I had spoken to I believe Donna Canavan was her name, the property owner. She came over when this was being proposed a while back. I had asked and inquired about the upper northwest corner of my property lot. And we'll call it lot 1, I believe is what we have here on the proposal.
Okay.
In the upper corner, the reason I'm referencing this is that is a very large piece of ledge right there that if you look on the map, you'll see it is a weird angle that kind of cuts off. And that actually is, if you will, 12 feet directly above an area that we tend to sit, play with the child and such, but there is the property boundary is an old stone wall. And now being that that actually comes in, if you will, like this, and then heads out, I can't really show you much more than this little section on the paper. But the northwest corner of that lot, if we were to take an actually 90-degree off my property line, I would be able to take those rocks away and that danger that I feel. So right, if you look there, north 83 degrees, 21 feet, 34 inches west, 1307, S84, 5105 west, 5920. That right there is a very weird angle that, like I say, leaves a set of rocks overhead of my family. And I was just looking to see if possible I could purchase that off before we start developing off that lot. That was one question of mine. And then
purchase what exactly?
I can't control the mouse here that I see on the screen, so I can't.
Okay.
Option, yeah. So you see where that mouse is circling right there? We all see that right now?
Yep.
Okay, so like I say, there's a section in there where that stone wall creates a weird angle. And if I were able to take a camera, I mean, I invite people from the board to come by and take a look themselves. Donna has, I believe, come over and seen it. It is, like I say, it's about 12 feet above your head. There are rocks, probably the size of truck rims, very large old rocks that a couple have fallen over the years that induced the property line. So if we were to take and straighten that out a bit, I'd be able to take those rocks down and remove the danger is all I'm really looking to do. And then also, if someone were to be walking along on lot 1, you could literally fall off a 12-foot cliff onto my property, potentially.
Brett?
So I know it's just a dangerous area for, especially myself, but maybe someone who would be walking over there, you could just drop right onto my property.
Brett?
Yes.
I can help you out. I can help you out on that.
Sure.
The results of our survey showed that indentation where those rocks are is not our property. There was a previous survey done by other people that showed that indentation. But if you notice the 46.58 foot dimension on the plan, I don't know if you can see that. That we found that they actually go straight, and all those rocks that you're talking about, they're yours. You can take them down.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. I was just really trying not to have it come down. I had one this winter come down, and I was just really worried about, my little man. I got young child. We kind of sit up there and he plays a bit. I just didn't, want to take down a property marker.
I tried to climb that ledge. It was tough.
It's crazy over there. And that's why I say I just really don't want to mess with anything, especially we've only been here, I think 7 or 8 years. So
those are all your rocks. Take them down, take them away.
Not a problem. The only other question I did have is, or concern, I know Mr. Logan, I believe is the name, had brought up the barrier. I am for that having a type of application to this, and I know it was both retreat lots that are would be are south of our barrier, lot 1's boundary and our boundary, that common line there that abuts the retreat lots. They did have a contingency on both lots that there would be a 25-foot buffer not to be touched. So I would also like a similar situation because they clean cut I don't know how it got away. I know it didn't come through zoning, but if you look at the lower boundary right by where lot 1 and my lot meet and follow that right out to Elm Street, you can see that's clear cut to the street now. I have 3 dogs. I was hoping they were going to leave like 5 or 10 feet of some type of overgrowth to deter the dogs from heading that way. But I have actually had to put in now, quite a bit of trees and a snow fence and a lot of time. So I would just like to be able to keep whatever natural growth is there, as much as possible. When we put this new proposed driveway in between my property and the established driveway that goes with the existing house. Because it's just, you can hear everything, you can see everything. It's, like these were really nice, quiet retreat style lots, and it just seems everybody's coming in. We just cut right up to the property line, and I'm the only one who's losing out. Everybody else is gaining.
I'm sure that Mr. Bell, who would build up in the back, would have no reason to not let that fill in to some extent, because he's only going to be just accessing his property through there. I mean, I don't see any reason why he'd want lawn area there, so I'm sure he'd be amenable to any type of,
or even
buffer.
like some arborvitaes, like from where I say boulders,
Absolutely.
Come down with a row of arborvitaes or something that, I don't want to fence because that looks horrible. That's not this neighborhood. We like, look at me, I'm a very bearded, bushy guy, right? We like the woods. But I have no oppositions to what is going on here. I told that to Donna. I never spoke to her brother, but those would be my only conditions that I can come up with at this point. Not conditions, or just concerns, I would say.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you
Is there
for your time.
anybody else on the call before we go over to any kind of input that may have come through us digitally? Is there anyone there? Jonathan Gray, you probably had the best vision for me, or anyone else on the call that can see. I'm just limited to a phone screen, so.
Let's see. Ryan,
Yeah.
feel free to pipe up. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just had a question about going back to the hardship issue. Would it not be, because it's already a non-conforming lot, and maybe we already covered this, but wouldn't the creation of another non-conforming lot be a self-created hardship?
That is correct. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Is that a point of clarification, or do you have a comment regarding that?
No, I just, yeah, it is kind of a point of clarification. That's what it appears to me to be, a self-created hardship, but.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can only argue that, from my point of view, I'll take for an example those 2 retreat lots that Brett was talking about to the south of him. Yeah, they're legal, but that was a bigger piece of land that some Form A lots were carved out, and they left 80 feet. They were able to get skirt by the bylaw because the retreat lot bylaw came in, but they certainly created a hardship by leaving only 80 feet, and then were kind of saved by the fact that the town voted in the retreat lot. So these people have lived there since 1948. They've never subdivided the property. They've never created their own hardship by selling any of the land.
Yeah,
They
no.
farm the land, and the wisdom of previous boards have seen that it's prudent to.
No, I'm aware of all that. I mean, he asked the question, and we got his answer for him. I mean, I do understand the previous boards and other lots in the area. Is there anybody else on the from the public that has any kind of questions or concerns for the applicant or for the board?
For anyone who is currently on the call that has public input on this case, if I can't see you, I'm sorry, but press the bottom.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
Put the mute button on the bottom left-hand corner, most likely. Unmute yourself and say something if you are, because I can't exactly see everyone. So if there is anyone with public input, now is the time to unmute yourself or raise a hand or make some sort of indication here.
While we're waiting for that, Jonathan Gray, do you have anything? I know attached in our files this evening, there is some email correspondence. I know it looks like we have one that you received on July 23rd. If you don't mind reading that, I believe that was asked, and I see Cynthia Robbins' name there, but it's not from Cynthia Robbins. So if you don't mind, could you just read that into the record for us?
Yes, hold on, I'm just admitting, I'm just
yeah.
admitting a new person into the call here.
That-
Mr. Salvi,
Yeah.
if you're joining us now, now is the time for public input for case 2, which is 2792 Elm Street. So if you have anything for public input, now is the time to speak up. And let's see, I will read. I did receive a letter today. I will get to the one you mentioned, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Did receive a letter from Jennifer and Joseph Morrow, who are residents at 2811 Elm Street. Dear board members, my name is Jennifer Morrow, and I write on behalf of myself and my husband, Joseph Morrow. We currently reside at 2811 Elm Street, and I am writing specifically in regards to case 220 and property located at 2792 Elm Street. Our home is located across the street from the subject property. After reviewing the application, which was submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, we understand that there is a proposal to divide 2792 Elm Street into 2 lots. While we do not object to the proposed division of the parcel, we are, however, concerned about the possibility of these 2 lots being divided further in the future. We would respectfully request that if the board were to approve the application as presented, that 2 deed restrictions be placed on both lots in order to avoid future divisions of the parcels. Thank you, Jennifer and Joseph Morrow.
Okay, now it seems as though that's also kind of the regards to the email that was sent, correct?
Yes, so actually that is the same person. Jen had indicated that she was going to say something like that. So the public comment that I have here in the meeting packet is sort of the condensed version, and she sent me a longer letter, which was not able to be added to the packet in time. So both Cynthia and Jen have both had an opportunity to provide public comment on this case. So I don't think any further.
Yep, that is fine. All right, is there anybody else? One last call, John. I know you said you were in the process of letting someone else join on. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't see anyone here indicating they are looking to provide any more public input at this time, and I don't have any other email to indicate here.
Okay, so that call you were admitting, letting them join was not for this case.
I just muted them. Yeah, I don't believe so. I'm not sure who that person was, but the other thing I should probably mention is we do have some departmental comments. The sewer indicated there's no public sewer on any of these streets for any of the cases tonight. For this case, the Board of Health stated that the percolation tests were witnessed and passed. A stormwater permit may be needed. And the water district indicated they have issued a moratorium on service connections back in June. And so I have the paperwork there in the meeting packet. And then for also this case number 2 is not on town water, so it does not really apply to them. So these houses would have public or non-public water supply. So that's all for the departmental comments. I think we can, it's probably a good time to, Donna, yeah, you're unmuted, Donna. Actually, let's see.
Is she unmuting because she has a question, or she does that as an accidental? Hello?
I'm I'm unmuting her now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Donna, sorry, you were just unmuted, so anything you've said for the past 10 seconds, we didn't hear.
Okay, a name came across the screen, Richard Salve. I think he was trying to get through to you, and I know that name from the neighborhood.
If Mr. Salvi has anything that he'd like to provide for public input, now would be the time to do so.
Yes, we're looking to be wrapping up the public input portion soon. So give it five more seconds, Richard Salvi, if you are there. Okay, so does not look like there's anything that he has. So that being said, before we close the public input, is there any final comments for the applicant they would like to say, or have they made their case as for what they have to say?
I think I've wrapped up everything that I have to say. I don't know if Donna or is John Zazmuda on the meeting, or
Yeah, John, my brother John should be. What I would like to say to John Canavan is I have no objection to putting, in the deed that no further houses will be built, because there is no intention to build any further development in the future. This is it.
Is that are you asking, or is that a statement that you're making? I'm just unsure of what it is that you're exactly asking us.
No, I'm just saying if we need to put it in the deed that it's not going to be developed in the future, as long as it's legal, I'm okay with that.
Okay. So for the record, would you say that you are opposed, against, or indifferent in terms of the ruling of this case?
Mr. Chairman, that's the applicant speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Roy, do you have anything to add?
no, I do not at this time.
Okay. So that being said, do I hear a motion to close the public input portion of this case?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close public input on this case.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Jonathan Gale.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so voting members, what do you guys feel? I mean, I know of the area not entirely well. I personally feel like I would like to go. I don't feel the need for a site visit. I would like to just take a drive-by and see it. How do you guys feel?
Mr. Chairman, I'll let you go, Pete.
This is Jonathan. You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a couple of comments, and I don't know how much jurisdiction we have over these or not, so I'm just gonna put them out there. First of all, Roy, you had mentioned the gentleman you were speaking to about the rock wall in the back, where he was concerned in that area, and you said that was his property. Potentially do what you want, I believe is what you said. But I'm wondering whether or not that's actually marked already, so that he knows it's his property. And if not, I would like to know that that's done for him before I considered anything, if that's because that's being stated. Second,
Hold on, Jonathan, just before you go into your second one, as a point of order, I don't believe at this point we can, is he able to answer any questions?
well, I don't know.
Karen?
No, he's not.
Okay, so I'm just
input.
No, I know. So well, because it was public input, not board, I didn't know if I could ask him any questions at that point. That's why I didn't actually.
Okay.
So having said that, I would, number one, want that gentleman to have the assurance of what was said is the case, either by, what's already posted and what's marked with the demarcation, or for a letter in writing of what was discussed and what was laid out, so that he has that peace of mind. The other questions I have with regard to the potential riders that folks are referring to, and for the buffer zones, I don't know if we have control over that, but it sounds to me like there's enough question mark here for us to put this under advisement and consider it further, whether it's by looking at the property directly, individually, separately, as we would need to do, or by getting input also potentially from the planning board. or giving the abutters an opportunity to talk more with the owner of the current property, because I'm hearing about the second property. The owner, I've also heard, no longer lives in the original house, but yet I'm not hearing anything being done with the original house. Is it going to stand forever? Is it eventually going to be demolished? That may not necessarily play into what's happening now, today, but it's relevant in terms of subdivision down the road.
Can I just say that I actually,
At this point, no, we can't have any kind of input from the public. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I did speak to the building commissioner last week, and I asked him, because I had received some abutters who had questioned the deed restriction and if it was possible. And Mr. Aguirre did indicate that it would be perfectly reasonable for the zoning board to have a deed restriction added to this case if they did deem that to be a worthy project.
So reasonable, yes, but Peter, as you said, is there anything that would even hold up? Like, is there a point of putting it in if we feel like it wouldn't really do us any good anyway?
Well, you certainly should put it in. It's never been challenged, but one of the things that the former chairman, Joe Pacheco, always used to say, that it was not illegal, but non-binding. You could put it in there, but if anybody wanted to challenge it, they probably would win. So
I see what you're saying.
By all means, put it in there as a condition and see what happens. But if there's no harm in putting it in.
That's, I guess, what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's prudent to have a conversation with our legal counsel with regard to the restriction and how that would be worded.
Okay.
As part of my suggestion, to take this under advisement and continue it.
Okay. And then Jonathan Gray, we have no correspondence from this. From Jim Aguirre. I personally would like to see what he has to say about this. I mean, I wouldn't actually. No, we can't. We close the public input, so I'm sorry, we can't do that. So that being said, I guess the only thing that I would like to do is drive by and take a look at it. What do the other board members feel like? Do they feel like they? I mean, I personally don't feel like I'm ready to vote on it tonight. So, what about the other two members?
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan.
Yep.
I grew up on Elm Street when I was a kid, so I'm very familiar with this piece of property. The one thing I do when we do decide whether we do allow it or do not allow it, I do want to put in the conditions of the buffers for the two abutters.
Yep.
For what they have for, like, making sure there's not going to, like when we said arborvitaes, for example, at Mr. Perry's house, you're going to put in a 2-3 footers, you're going to put 5 footers. I'm just going to straight out to you. This area is full of deer. Okay. Arborvitaes are a deer's best friend. So we got to come up with something on that. I'm comfortable with tabling this again, like we talked about, coming up with a better plan. I'd like to see that corner thing on the design of lot 1 to Mr. Perry's be hashed out on the drawing. I'm not comfortable with the lot 2 going all the way to the back like that with a 50-foot wide buffer. I just see potential for future growth of development back there by leaving that lot that width there. I'd like to see it get closed a little bit somewhere so we can squeeze it off. These are a few things that I see. I'm only answering for myself. I'm not answering for the board by any means.
Nope, I understand. So, Jonathan, how do you feel in terms of what you need, if anything, to make any kind of decision or anything that you want to mull over, just out of curiosity?
I think I stated what I felt. I think we should continue it based on what I had to say, and as well what Greg had to say. I think we're very similarly, except what he can see visually, on the same page.
Yeah, right. Okay. So that being said, do I have a motion to continue on the public, not the public hearing, I'm sorry, to continue this case to our next meeting, as we stated before we started?
I would make a motion. This is Jonathan Gale making the motion that we continue this case to our next public meeting, and that in the interim period as well, we direct Jonathan Gray to potentially have a conversation with our legal counsel regarding anything that we might want to add here as far as riders.
Okay, is there a second?
Second that, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to.
Before you
Go ahead.
vote on that, guys,
Yeah.
if what I'm hearing from you, Greg, is you're uncomfortable with the amount of acreage that's left over because of the way they've drawn out the lot.
Yeah, lot
you can
two.
ask the applicant to come back with a new drawing.
I would like to see it squeezed, Peter. It's 50 feet
Exactly.
wide.
I know what you're referring to because it does leave it open for new development.
They might-
And if that's the case, if you can ask the applicant to come back with a new set of plans that shows that L-shaped lot taken away, so that lot number 2 and lot number 1 kind of go all the way to the back of the property line, and that would alleviate the need to worry about whether or not you need a deed rider that stops any further development, because you're taking it away by giving the land to the other lot now.
Okay, even if he pinched it in one point, just so it's a dead horse, now we know they have to purchase other land to do this. I'm not saying this petitioner is trying to do that in any ways, but let's face it, 10, 15 years from now, these people won't have anything to do with this land. Somebody else could. I
Right.
see it as I build for a living, and I see what I see here, and I just don't like that look.
So that being said, Dad, if we do go about, asking this of the applicant, do we now have to reopen the public hearing to allow them to submit anything, correct?
Right. You don't have to, you reopen the public hearing and ask the applicant to come back with a new set of drawings. This is your concern. Your concern is that there's too much land to one lot and not enough to the other lot. That you want him to divide it so that for future development, it makes it impossible. You can do that.
And so when we do that, that also allows us to hear public input from anyone else, public or the town boards, correct?
Sure. If you feel there's still people out there that want to be heard.
And just point of information here, would that require reposting of certified mailers to the abutters?
No, not a reposting, because you're going to continue the meeting regardless. So you don't have to repost it. You don't have to send out another certified mailing.
So like Roy, if you could just pinch that corner somewhere, I know you have to have 8.5 acres for a retreat lot, I believe. So we could just pinch a corner so it doesn't show that 50-foot buffer in there.
So that being said, Greg, is this something you want to do? I have to open up the public input before we have.
No, I don't want to. I'm just saying, I think that it's not like we got to redesign the wheel here. We just got to do something in that area. That's one thing that's bothering me.
Okay.
Right. And I think the applicant would rather have the option of redoing it and coming back before the board, as opposed to you denying it outright just because of a line, a flaw in the design.
Okay, so Greg, if that's something you want to do, then I do need a motion to open up the public input, reopen the public input.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reopen the public input.
Do I have a second?
Second, Jonathan Gale.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, Greg, if you can go now and formally ask the applicant what it is you'd like for him to do.
Yeah, Roy, like I know you've been hearing what we were talking about, and what I'm really, now that I've said it, I think you can see what I'm looking at on that 50-foot right of way going all the way along the property line. The opposite side is a photo. I mean, there's a ground array system out on the backside of Kingsley's land there. But it's not all developed throughout this section here. And I'd like to see that pinched somewhere, just so the 50-foot width is no longer acceptable from Elm Street.
Yeah,
Not saying, just to leave a little bit, but I'm just saying, I just like to see that pinched.
Yeah, Greg, in my office today, I was looking at that and I said to myself, I don't even like the looks of that. And I know Ken Bell, who wants to purchase lot 1, wants more open space. And he never liked that strip, but he was going to have 8 acres for the retreat lot. So I don't know if see this, but I drew that line in my office today, how I'd pinch that off, and it would be 50,000 square foot.
There it
which
is.
Far more than the required 43,560. I'd pinch it right at where it starts to narrow, right behind where it says lot 2. And that would be 50,000 square feet there. And it would give the remaining portion of that long strip to Ken with his lot 1. So I looked at that this morning. I said, you know, I was so stuck on the retreat lot configuration of 8 acres that I should have thought when we made this into a ZBA presentation to just change that lot 2 into a conforming square footage lot, but take away that 50-foot strip.
That's
See what
all.
the-
Yeah, I think that pees my mind on that section going all the way back.
Yeah.
Because there's an undeveloped land out back there everywhere. And then right now, yeah, it's a dead horse, but who's to say it doesn't become something?
And that would appease mine too, because I know like that would answer, you know, my reason for wanting to see it in the first place. So, you know, that was my first question. So I got to see this thing and wonder why it's shaped the way that it is and going as far back. So a new set of plans would definitely, you know, help me visualize and understand it more as to, you know, the reasoning for the shape too.
And also the piece is the corner of Perry and Andrea 2822 we were discussing.
Yep.
46, 5.8. Is there any way we could get that clarified so that's more of a square showing it now, so it does become an issue between the two neighbors down the road?
What I could do I don't know if Mr. Perry's, Brett's still at the meeting, but you know, I would certainly be willing to mark that out for him at a time when he's around. You know, it kind of goes up over that ledge, but we could certainly mark that very clearly for him, even paint mark along the line.
Roy, this is Jonathan Gale, and I think that's what I was alluding to earlier. I'm sure you heard.
Yes.
So that he has that peace of mind to know that that's taken care of. I don't like to leave these little bumps in the road uncovered and then have folks come back later and say, well, it was said that, but.
Yep.
So if we can get that taken care of before the next meeting, that would be great as well, and hear from him that's resolved.
Yeah, absolutely no issue with that. And you know, if we're going to revise the plan, we could also show some buffers too, if that's what the board would.
That'd be
like.
great.
A couple of buffers.
That'd be great. And I by the way, Jonathan Gray, I do see Mr. Perry on, if you want to liven his mic, in case he has any questions on that corner.
So now would be the time to address anything else while the meeting is still open. You talked about conditions and arborvitaes, and is there something else you wanted him to address before he comes back with a new set of plans?
Well, I was thinking of the arborvitaes because we know deer like arborvitaes.
Right.
So you'll have grass, you'll have a nice green top, but you'll have nothing at the bottom. So either we do some brush work and some type of tree work through there, or a fence along the street coming up on the side of Perry, as well as Chris Costa. He had a concern in that matter too. Maybe if he just puts something on the drawing while we're coming back to revisit, those things are on there, so that we don't even have to put a condition, it's on the drawing.
Right.
Jonathan Gray, I think you were just going to see if Mr. Perry was still allowed, and if he had any
Mr.
questions.
Perry, I just unmuted you. Are you okay? All right. You feel free to add anything you'd like.
Brett 2822 Elm. I was just raising my hand to let Mr. Delano know. Roy, I'm usually around, more, you know, whenever you want to take a stop by, if we want to do a little walk out there.
Sure.
Usually after, 4 to 5 o'clock, I'm around. So I appreciate that. I mean, it really takes a load off of my chest knowing that, like, I can kind of just shimmy off, 5 or 6 rocks and they're not going to come down.
Right.
I do appreciate that, because I did note that on this drawing that is attached tonight that we're all looking at, it's the same drawing that we've been looking at tonight. I did notice that from my plot plan, when I go down and look on the town map, it does look different than this one in that corner. Now that you had brought that up, I did, close up my little screen, head over, take a look, and it does differ. So I do appreciate that we could somehow nail that down and know, who is where and how, because it is very thick and viney up in there and things of that nature. But I'm more than willing to make the trek if you're more than willing to come with, and maybe we could, get it nailed down also in the town maps too. Once we get this all set, we would all have the common map that would all kind of lay the same.
So Mr.
Right, if this gets approved, there would be a Mylar record at the Registry of Deeds, which would show that line the way we found it to be, and that would correct the town map also. The other thing, Brett, I don't know whether if we were to put along your stone wall at the street there, if we were to put a 10-foot no-touch buffer, then naturally things would grow in that area. I think right now there's kind of like a ditch or swale in that area anyway, and that would further grow up and give you protection. Like Mr. Logan said, arborvitaes, they die, they get eaten by deer. If we just had a 10-foot buffer up until your wood line, that the owner of lot 1 technically would be restricted from touching or clearing or mowing. That would grow in some natural buffer for you. And the same with the neighbor who has the retreat lot. If we put a 20-25 foot no touch buffer there on the plan, that would also make sure that no trees were cut within that south, within 25 feet of that south wall. Just an idea. We could add it to the plan if we're going to make changes.
All right, so we will let you guys reconvene. We do have one more case tonight. I think the applicant has everything that we need from him. We've already continued the public input in the hearing for this case, so there's nothing more for us to rule on tonight. Is that correct?
One last thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Mr. Perry, if you just send me an email, I will connect you with Mr. Delano, just so you guys can chat more offline about this if needed.
I will certainly do that. Assume I can get your email off the town's website, and I will do that. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you all.
right, so we were going to go right along to the last case of the evening. That would be 30-20, 255 Pleasant Street, public hearing.
Zach, before you go too far, it said that
Sure.
Greg had left the meeting.
Greg did?
That's what I just heard. You might want to check your visual.
I know we had video problems before, and then he came back on audio. He is gone completely.
Yes, he is.
Scrolling now. Yeah, I don't.
We might want to check that first before we continue.
Sure. Since I'm not sharing my screen or anything, I will shoot him a quick text and see if he's aware. I mean, I'm thinking he knew, but assuming he knows we weren't done.
Sorry to interrupt there.
Okay, yep. He actually just texted me at the same time saying, lost my connection, trying to reboot. So that being said, I mean, I think we can at least read the, get ahead on reading the notice as it was in the paper, and then hopefully he'll be back in time for any kind of presentation. So Jonathan, if you could also, sorry, let me continue where we were. It's 30-20, 2544 Pleasant Street, public hearing on the variance and special permit application to construct a detached accessory garage over 20 feet tall with a second-story accessory apartment containing 900 square feet of living area. So if we can read the notice as it was published in the paper, please.
Sure thing, Mr. Chairman. Legal notice published in the Taunton Daily Gazette. Town of Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 7 p.m. held remotely on Zoom. Notice is hereby given that the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public hearing on the variance and special permit application of Alexander J. Sembalisti for the property located at 2544 Pleasant Street, shown on Assessor's Map 24, Lot 6, pursuant to sections 2510 and 2520, accessory apartments, and section 2740 dimensional regulations of accessory structures of the Town of Dayton zoning bylaw in order to construct a detached accessory garage over 20 feet tall with a second-story accessory apartment containing 900 square feet of living area. Members of the public attending this public hearing virtually will be allowed to comment on the proposal during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment. Members of the public seeking instructions for attending and participating in the hearing or seeking copies of the plan should contact the Zoning Board of Appeals at 508-669-6431, extension 119, or by email at jgray@dayton-ma.gov. Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, Zachary Karen, Chairman.
Thank you very much. So I don't see Greg. Did anyone else see him sign on?
No, but you need 3 voting members.
No, I know. I wanted to wait and see if he was on first because no sense
Yeah.
appointing him to be a voting member if he's not here. So I don't see him. So Michelle, we'll need 3 voting members.
Well, I'll do myself, and then the only other, I'll do Peter. And since I can't do you, I'll have to do Jonathan because there's no Greg. Again.
Okay.
I mean, that's Jonathan on all 3, right?
Which is fine. Yep, that's not a problem. Obviously, with the smaller board, that has to happen. So Michelle, those 3 voting members were again, please, for the record.
Michelle Lima, Peter Karen, Jonathan Gale.
Okay. All right. So Alex, if you are the one presenting your case, you may go ahead whenever you're ready, sir.
Yes, thanks for having me on, and this is pretty cool. Hope everybody's good. It's a lot going on in our world right now. But anyway, so we'll spend a lot on this, but I'm here, and like I said, thanks. So, dear Board of Appeal members, I'm seeking a special permit under sections 2500 and 5300 with a variance for relief of 5010 and 2520D and 2740 to construct a detached accessory garage with an apartment accessory containing 900 square feet of living area on my residence located at 2544 Pleasant Street to be occupied by myself. My mother, Allison, currently occupies the single family home located on this lot. I will be living in the detached accessory apartment so I can be close to my mother and help take care of her as she gets older. The detached accessory garage will be located on the ground floor with 1 bedroom accessory apartment located above. My new septic system will be installed to accommodate the existing house as well as the new accessory apartment. The construction of the accessory garage and apartment will be consistent with the existing home. The layout of the existing dwelling and topography of the land prohibit the garage to be detached from attached to the existing house. We're seeking a variance from 2510 and 2520D as the accessory garage and apartment cannot be attached to the existing house without alternating existing grades and cannot meet the setback requirements. The existing house is located on the far right side of the property, leaving plenty of land for and available the detached accessory structure. We're seeking a variance from section 2740 to construct a garage structure. This is in a floodplain zone, and the first living floor will be on the above the garage out of the floodplain. We will keep the garage structure height no more than aligned with the roof lines of the existing dwelling structure, with the garage height still being lower than the existing peak of the main dwelling. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'm here. I live in town now. I have a business in town. I'm an assistant harbor master in town. I like to stay in town.
Excuse me, Alex. 1 second. I just got a text from Greg. The host has something back on. Jonathan, can you let him back on if you haven't already?
Yes, hold on 1 second for me.
Sorry, Alex. I want to get Greg back on here.
You're good. Thanks.
So he is.
Yeah, he's joined. Just said he's joined.
Perfect. Thanks for the heads up, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, absolutely. All right, Alex, continue. You saying the harbor master?
Yeah, so no, just, involved in town. I like to stay in town. I'm getting older. Still living with my mom here in the main dwelling. I'd like to have my own space. Like to stay on the property. I have a grandmother up the street. Did my Eagle project up the street. Very involved. And basically, I just want to stay in town, and this is going to be, one of the main reasons why and how I'll stay in town. I'd like to kind of stay here with her, and just maintain the property as I do now. And we looked into building kind of a attached accessory, but we really just don't have room. The setback's too tight in our far right corner of our back property there. I don't even know if it's 15 feet. It's very tight over. If you kind of see where the porch is, all the way on the other side of the house, opposite side of the porch, you'll see there on the plan that's on your screen. That's the garage there, but doesn't really allow enough space and room for added living space. So that's basically it. This is my first time doing this. I don't know if I did any of that right, but
No, absolutely.
Looking for questions and everything, but I'm happy to be here. So thanks.
Sure. All right. Any members of the board, voting members first, that have any questions for Mr. Symbolisty here?
This is Jonathan Gale. My first question actually is, what is the height of the garage portion of the new structure? Again, not counting your upper floor.
Of the is it of the existing or
No, of the new. Of the new.
Of the new. I would have to look. I believe that when we I had an engineer kind of do all this, and unfortunately he's not here tonight, but I believe it was going to be 28 feet. I think 20 was the limit. So that was the variance difference. I think it was like 8 feet. I'm not certain.
And is that including or excluding the second floor? The reason I'm asking this question, sir, so you know also, is I'm visually impaired, so I can't see the structures. So my question is, if the garage itself is 20 feet high plus the upper living space, why does the garage need to be 20 feet?
Mr. Gale, I'll clarify here. It's a 2-story structure. The regulations zoning bylaw requires accessory structures to be a maximum of 20 feet tall. In order to do a 2-story structure with a roof line that matches the existing building, I believe that's why he's asking for the variance on the height. I'm assuming the top of the actual garage would probably be 10 to 12 feet, with the other the second story being another 10 or 12 feet.
All right, that's where I was going with that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, that's my only question for so far.
Okay. Peter, do you have anything?
Yes. Is there any possible way of putting your accessory apartment above the current garage? Because what we have here is basically building 2 houses on 1 lot, which is not allowable with town bylaws. I know it's just an accessory apartment, but it becomes, for all intents and purposes, 2 houses. Like I said, is there a way to put your in-law apartment somewhere in the existing dwelling?
Certainly, no, and good question, Peter. Like I said, we looked into that. That part of the garage on the other side of the porch. So if you look all the way on the other side, right where that indentation is, that's the garage.
Yeah.
On that. I've had conversations a lot since maybe last September with Jim Aguiar in regards to that. And that garage, I think, is like 20, maybe 20 by 20. It's very small. Not saying it couldn't be done. What we would probably do if that was the case is basically may have no garage below and conform that into a space too. But that's not really what we looked into it, but there was
not your best option.
Yeah, not the best option. Yeah, exactly. It's not.
Right. Okay. No, that's all I have, Zach.
Okay. Michelle, do you have anything that you want to ask the applicant?
No, I'm just going over everything. I'm just trying to visualize where this is. I know he does have a lot of land to the left of the proposed building. I was trying to figure out also, as Peter asked, why it couldn't be added, but looking at this, it does look like it would be very close to the property lines to the side and the back. So that was really it. I'm just trying to visualize what it would look like in the proposed building. Now, the reason that it's going to be the garage is because of the flooding. It's a flood zone, correct? That's why you need to have it off the ground? Is that why we're going to do a garage and then an apartment above it?
Yes.
Okay. That's really all I have right now.
Okay. Is there any member of the public that has any questions, comments regarding this case? Again, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, this is Peter Benby. I'm at 2484 Pleasant Street, and I have a comment. And my comment is that I think that unlike many of Alex's peers, Alex has decided to remain in Dighton and make a life of living in Dighton. And to do so, he needs to make it work for him. And to make it work for him, he needs to, he wants to have a space that he can live in and be able to make it work. So I guess my point is that unlike, well, my children who have left, he wants to stay here. And I think it's important that we support young people like Alex to be giving them options to remain here. So anyway, that's my comment. And any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And so just for the record, I would assume that you are for this going through?
I am absolutely for it, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the public? Alex, is there anything you want to address in regards to Peter's comments?
No, I mean, I want to stay in town, and I want to make it work. I could easily move away. I don't want to. Right. I'm involved, but I'm getting older, and so is my mom too. And I do a lot of work in town. I do a lot of maintenance with my mother, and being here was certainly going to help her moving forward as well. So the house is now actually in a trust with me. So it's going to go to me, the home eventually. So
Alex, this is Jonathan Gale. And my thoughts, first of all, I think the fact that you want to stay in the town is awesome and wonderful. However, having said that, my question is, I don't know, and I don't know how old you are, sir, but this is what you want to do now. I don't know down the road if this is what you want to do, or as you just alluded to, that the house is in trust from your mom to you. My only concern or question is that I don't know if we should add something so that this does not ultimately turn into a piece of rental property. And that's a concern that I have, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it's something that I think we need to think about for a minute.
Okay, and now Peter or Greg, is that something that we can put into the condition or anything?
Sure. It was funny, Jonathan, because that was a concern of mine as somebody was saying that they thought it was great that you want to stay in town. What happens if the house goes to his mother and this becomes a transit place for people to rent that months at a time?
Exactly.
But you can put a condition in there, and Greg, you can help me word it, where it's only rented to a family member, somebody with the same last name, somebody has, they have to be related.
Similar to an
it's
in-law
hard to
apartment.
police.
Yeah, like we could do it. Peter,
Nobody's
like
going to come knocking on it.
Sorry.
It certainly opens up a can of worms with somebody else. What was that?
I was just going to say we could list it as similar to like an in-law apartment. It's only allowable rental to the family members of all. Sorry, I didn't want to apologize. I lost my service. On this case here, what is the proposed building going to be? Is that a garage?
Alex, Greg did not hear your original presentation.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
so Greg, yeah, basically the garage on the lower floor, because it's it's in the floodplain with a variance in the variance for extended height because of the flood. We have to be a little bit higher, so we have to have an extra, I believe it's 8 feet or something. But you know, that's basically why there's you know, the garage there. And if you look at the plan that Jonathan had on the screen, we have a garage, yeah, on the existing dwelling. But you know, I spoke with Jim Aguirre maybe last September and October a little bit about it, and we're like, I don't know if you can see that 15-yard setback. We're right on the line. It's very small. Architecturally, you know, the cost of something like that, we did go look into that avenue because you know, it's basically like an in-law apartment. It's just I'm being there instead, or vice versa. Who knows? Maybe she'll live there, but it's like separation, I guess you'd say.
That's the big thing. It's separated. If it was attached, there'd be no issues at all.
I'm just going to throw this out there. What's the chances of where the garage is, where it's a single level, with the garage that you have now coming out towards your front driveway a little bit more, making it 30 feet in definition, so you project out into your driveway another 8 feet and then build the upper level and tie it all in back into your existing home? Because by the time you're done with the concrete for this flood zone one, it's going to be an expensive little garage. But I'm not telling you what to do. I was just thinking of other options that would help the board, because now you got two structures on one parcel, like Peter had stated. One's now going to be a rental. Right now, you'll move into it, God forbid, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from mom goes away. You'll be back in your home, and now we have a building here that can be rented. That's where, like I stated, our concerns are going to be. But I was just thinking with the garage was that, again, now you're still in the flood zone. I know exactly where you're located. It's a little higher there, but it is wet back there too. So it's probably going to be, no matter how much elevation fill are you going to bring in for the proposed building going back with your proposed driveway going out there?
I don't know, Greg.
So you're going to bring an elevation of dirt, and then you're going to raise it up 8 feet. And our bylaw, I believe, is 29 feet to the peak or something like that. So you're asking for relief of that as well?
No, he's asking for a 28-foot building. The bylaw asks for 20 feet.
20 feet to the peak? No, that's not right.
The accessory structures.
Accessory. Okay, there's the word, accessory structure. Okay. So that's what you're looking for relief for. So you're really not going to be any higher than the existing house by any means.
No, like you said, Greg, this home right now, the existing dwelling is higher.
Yeah.
And back to what you were saying relating to the building onto the house. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, obviously.
Right.
I'm not trying to spend money every way I can, but like, you know, I see what you're saying there too, and I take your recommendation as far as cost and concrete. I don't know that. I know grass. I don't know building.
Yeah. Well, to do a raised structure like you're talking about, and have all those things built for shear and lateral conditions, it's expensive.
Yeah.
To be able to park underneath. But I don't want to scare you, but there's a lot of money right there.
Okay. Are there any more abutters on this case that wish to be heard? No. Okay. Is there any written correspondence, Jonathan, or whether it was prior to the meeting or since the meeting has begun regarding this case?
Just checking my email now. I have not received any calls, and I have not received any emails. No written public input. I will now read into the record the water district is, so it case, let's see, case 3 from the water district. They said case 3 may need to upgrade their water line, especially if it is a galvanized line. This is due to flow concerns. they've also issued a moratorium on service connections back in June. For Board of Health, they stated that there is no septic information on file. The location of the septic system should be identified. If the variance is approved, this will increase the number of dwelling units and require an upgrade to the septic system. And then sewer department stated there is no public sewer on this street. And that's all I've got for departmental comments.
Okay, Alex, do you have anything, any kind of comments to what Jonathan has read off?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, certainly, Mr. Chairman. So on, yeah, both of those, actually, my grandfather was water commissioner for over 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that was something that was brought up both for, you know, the board and Greg too, about just building on as far as bedrooms goes. And I know, you know, bedrooms bathrooms can correspond to your septic, and, you know, you can get a variance, or I don't know, I'm losing a word, to not have to redo your septic or whatever. The septic system is old. If you're not aware of Pleasant Street on the board or to the public, we're right on the Taunton River, and way back when, a lot of the times there was no septic. So it was just some simple pipes, and I can show you them too on the river if you're interested. But you know, the septic system is, you know, it is getting old, and we've had some issues. You know, this was also an incentive to be able to, you know, build this accessory apartment to also upgrade that system, because it's gonna have to be done at some point. You know, I don't plan on letting this house leave, you know, our family, but at some point it's going to fail and going to need replaced. So I figured we could kind of do both. So it's kind of an incentive as well. That's what me and Jim kind of spoke about as well.
Okay. All right. So that's all that we have for town input. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yeah, I've got no other public input from anyone, member of the public. If there's any board members who want to speak to this.
I would just ask Alex, before we close the public comment section, are you opposed to any kind of a rider or anything that we add that stipulates that this has to be a unit that's set aside specifically as an in-law apartment, not to be set aside as a rental apartment to anyone other than a family member?
No, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. All right, so that being said, do I hear a motion to close the public input on this case?
Make a motion to close the public input.
Is there a second?
Second, Michelle Lima.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, voting members, you may deliberate anything you wish to address or just discuss your ruling. Go right ahead.
I personally, as long as we put a rider in there to stipulate, as discussed earlier, that the additional rental unit of the space, I do want to ask, well, it's too late to ask the other question, so I won't even go there. But I should have asked what was going to happen with the original garage plus the new garage, but it's too late for that. So
Yes.
having said that, I would have no objection whatsoever as long as we, Alex, we lost Alex. But as long as we stipulated that this be specifically used for family members as an in-law apartment, and again, as I said, not to be used as a rental apartment to anyone other than a family member. And you know, in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as he agreed to that, which he said he does, then I don't have an objection to moving forward with this.
Now, is this property is commercial or residential? It's residential, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so. I'm not too familiar with the history of the land down there, so I don't know if anything. I know with some of the, the docks
No,
down there, I'm not sure.
I'm very familiar with the land.
Oh,
but
okay.
I just wanted to make sure that this structure is going to be used, for not business purposes, just
Oh, I
residential.
see.
And that's why I said, Greg, I should have thought of asking what the second garage would be used for.
Well, see, that house, Jonathan, the garage that's on the existing house is still going to be functional and staying, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe that's going to be touched at all. There is no second garage, except for the proposed garage that he's trying.
Exactly, which is more than just a rental apartment or an apartment for Alex now that he's back.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Sorry about that.
it is a little, the garage that's on that home is rather small.
Right.
So an only other option he would have to make it feasible, he would have to either go forward to the driveway and then cantilever it to make it larger for him, living space, or he had the option of building a second proposed garage.
Okay. So as for myself, I think I've indicated what my thoughts are there. I don't know what the other board members are thinking.
I don't have an
Peter,
issue with it. I don't have an issue with it. I don't like the idea of it becoming two houses on one lot, which is kind of what it is. But in this particular case, the notice went out to all of the abutters, and nobody appealed it. And this is their neighborhood. So if they don't mind it being there, I don't mind it being there.
It is a large open area. It is a big lot. So I'm like I say, I kind of feel the same way.
Right.
Could I speak?
I don't think you can.
Unfortunately, Alex, I think you might have missed this because we closed the public input. Unless we reopen it, we can't have any more questions or comments from anybody in the public that does include the applicant.
Well,
Unfortunately,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to do that. Unfortunately, my Zoom logged me out. I don't know what happened. I had to redo it. So if we could do that.
I'm going to make a motion that we reopen the public meeting to give Alex an opportunity to say what he'd like to say. We did that for the last. I think we can do
sure.
it.
Yep. So I just need a second on that from a voting member.
I second it.
All right, any discussion? All right, Alice, I'm sorry, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. I lost on Zoom. So
that's okay.
Yeah, so like Greg said, alluded to, that area is open. If you do actually go over there, and you're welcome to walk the property, I don't maintain the lawn over there much at all because there's actually asphalt under the grass. That was a barn. It was where my shed was a barn, and that barn was for my grandfather's construction company, Sousa Brothers Construction. So that area has been once used for, used and had an area over there. So it's open land, and I just like to reclaim some of the area there. So that's all.
Alex, the same thing I had said, but while you were off Zoom, I was saying I wanted to make sure it was a commercial or residential. I do remember that I was told that was a construction company there at one point.
Yeah, long time ago. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
As a non-voting member, one of my most important things is the abutters, and considering the only abutter feedback we had was very much for it. I mean, if anyone truly had anything egregious to say negatively, I'm sure we would have heard by now. And the fact that we have nothing but positive feedback, that's always good for me whenever I rule on a case. But obviously, I'm not a voting member, but I just want to say that we should be taking into the consideration the neighborhood, and we have someone who seems to be for that. So that's one thing that I like to see too.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public comment.
Yeah, Alex, did you have anything else aside from addressing that question? Did you have anything that you wanted to add, or you just wanted to make sure that you would address that?
No, get along with all my neighbors here, very close with them. I had two actually say, good for you. I think that's that's going to be nice for you to stay around because I'm active. I was interested to see if the Patricios behind me would be interested in coming to the meeting, but like I said, I'm in all good standing and get along with everyone here. And if anybody I think, had anything to approach me, they would have already. So that's all.
Definitely. Okay, so go ahead, Jonathan.
I'll make a motion that we close the public meeting.
Mr. Chairman. That's
Sure.
Ryan.
Yep. You as a member of the board, you can speak even after you close the public input, but
Okay.
but you can speak now. That's fine. Go ahead.
No. The only reason I want to speak up was because I thought someone had a question about his use of the new garage. Did
Yes,
they
I
get that
did.
answered?
This is-
Correct.
I did, Jonathan Gale, and actually that's a fair point. Alex,
Okay.
I know you have the other garage and Greg's indicated it's smaller and obviously you need a larger footprint for what you want to do on the second floor. And that's understandable. But my two questions would be, number one, what do you plan to do with the old garage versus garage space versus the new garage space? And then secondary to that, again, because I can't see it, do you plan to have a separate entrance off the side of the garage or from inside the garage to the second floor?
Okay, certainly on those questions. So the existing garage basically is storage and such. I'd like to be able to give it back to my mother. This is her house. So I'd like to have my own garage for tools and such. And that's another issue on space. I'd like some more space for both of us. And then as far as the two entrances, are you speaking of like an entrance into the house?
Into the new structure, not into your mom's house, but into the new structure. Where will that entrance be? Will it
Okay.
be from inside the garage, or will it be an exterior entrance that has like a foyer or something like that?
Right. I actually just got some rough drawings back today. Not planning that at all, but I don't think there'll be being an entrance from inside. It'll be from outside, and like a staircase up to the side or the back. That's, I think, our plan. Kind of want to keep it separate, if that kind of makes sense.
Okay.
Well, Jonathan, I wanted to clear up something too. He has to have two means of egress regardless, so he's gonna have probably, I would think possibly, Alex, you're probably gonna have a small deck, a set of stairs and a means of egress into the apartment. Am I correct on that?
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So go ahead, Jonathan. With you want to continue your motion?
I will. This is Jonathan Gale. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, board members, you may deliberate. Anything you want to discuss, go right ahead.
Jonathan, I just want to say something, Jonathan Gale.
Yes.
He meets all the side setbacks with any kind of, where the location of this proposed building is going to be. He's going to be fine with whether he does a deck, staircase, landing, all of the above. And the location where he's trying to put it is downhill from his mom's house. It's kind of a flat piece of property, but it does take a little topo towards that, towards its proposed garage. The street is right, if I'm not mistaken, is almost flush with the front of that property line. So that's why when you were asking those questions, I just wanted to help you out. I know you can't see.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That helps.
All right, board members, is there any, what motions would you like to make, if any?
I make a motion to approve it with the condition that only family members are allowed to live there.
And a second?
Shalima, I second that motion. And just to clarify, the septic is going to be updated for both properties at the same time, correct? That was going to be done, right?
Right, I believe he said that.
Yeah.
He has to do that regardless, because he's adding bedrooms and baths.
Yep.
And the septic system that, and like he had stated to you before, that back in the day, them ran right into the river. He probably only has a tank. And also he has to have a condition on there. Don't forget about the water line being galvanized, being brought into the property. And just so you're aware, I know he can't talk, but the water department's not handing out any more water connections at this moment in time. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but he should be grandfathered in. It's not like he's Oh, no, he won't be.
Oh, he's got a
It's a
total
new structure.
pros. Yeah, that's the problem I'm
Right.
seeing. That's why I was trying to talk him into putting it on the house. Boom, you're all
Right.
set. But in this situation, I understand what he's up against.
Well, he may not be able to do it right now because of that, and
that
yeah, maybe
sucks,
something
yeah,
that'll
yeah.
be on hold, but at least he'll have this part of it done.
Yep.
Right.
So
I
I'll,
think-
I'll just read. So I've got Peter Karen making a motion to approve with the condition that only family members are allowed to live in the unit. Is that the entirety of the motion, or is there additional?
I would like to add that only family members are allowed to live in the rental unit. I would say for perpetuity, so long as the residence remains in the property of any family member.
So I'll just reread that. Motion to approve with a condition that only family members are allowed to live in the unit so long as the family owns the property.
So
Well,
long
that
as the
doesn't ma-
family or the family trust is in ownership of the property. And the reason I say family trust is because Alex indicated that the home is in trust for him right now.
So I guess to argue that point, if he sells the property, along with that, somebody else, the way you're wording it, that means somebody else can rent it and not be a family member.
That's correct. And that's why we have to think about it carefully. I mean, we may want to reconstruct this so that it's always sold as a home with an in-law apartment for family only.
Right.
That's the word in-law, yeah.
So you want me to throw out another reconstruction motion?
Or Dad, Peter, you made the first motion. Do you need to reword your original motion? I didn't want to add to.
No, I guess in perpetuity should be the sufficient word. I don't know if you have to add anything else, because that would carry over that.
I think
if he were to sell the property
Yeah.
to somebody else down the road, they would have to continue it as an in-law
Right.
apartment.
So you'd have to just change it to family member and in perpetuity.
Okay,
Right.
so I've got a motion to approve with a condition that only family members are allowed to live in the unit in perpetuity.
No,
Correct.
You can't just say in perpetuity, because that determines whether, if it's sold beyond a family member, there's no limit there. And it may, at some day, it's no longer going to be held by a family member. So it has to change a little bit further. So it would be, the motion would have to indicate that is an in-law apartment to only be rented or used by a family member, so long as the home remains in the name or trust of a family member. And then you would add, and that upon sale to a non-family member,
Should roll over.
right, it should to a non-family member, the in-law apartment shall then be held in perpetuity for rental only to a family member. Period.
Before we say all that, Jonathan, no, I just want to say something. Now, no, I'm not a voting member on this one, but if, let's just say I bought this place, there's a restriction on the deed that we had done that goes to a family member, wouldn't that just roll over to the next buyer?
Right.
I would tend to disagree.
That's why I'm asking. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, no, I know. And I'm not either, but I'm disagreeing because we're only locking it into this particular request with the structure.
Yeah, but we're putting a request, we're putting something on the deed
You're
of
putting
property, not the name of the person.
You're putting a deed restriction on it by just saying that it can only be an in-law apartment and it has to be a family member. That way, if if they were to sell it down the road, whoever bought it would have the same deed restriction.
Okay, all right.
So I would say, if you say it's an in-law apartment only to be used by a member of the family of the owner,
In
if the
perpetuity.
ownership changes, then, and we're not saying Mr. Simplest is going to sell anytime soon, but if the ownership changes, then it would apply to the owner of the new owner of that property.
Right, they
Yes.
would be bound by the same
And
deed
if you,
restriction.
and if we said only by the family member of the owner in perpetuity, that's going to cover it.
Okay, so then is there a second on that, Michelle? I think you started that.
I'm sorry, a second? For what, for,
Were you starting did you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to lead the voting, but I was just clarifying, were you starting to second that case before Jonathan
oh, I
added
was,
that?
yes, I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay, that's
After
okay.
all of that, I kind of forgot.
Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that.
Yes, I was seconding that motion, yes.
Okay, any discussion?
Jonathan Gray, could you just read that back to us?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I've got Peter Karen making a motion to approve the structure with a condition that the unit be an in-law apartment to only be used by a family member of the owner of the property in perpetuity.
Perfect. I think.
And
Any
second-
discussion? Oh, yep. Any
Second.
discussion?
Well, Marguerite will review this, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Symbolisti, you are all set.
I think we lost him.
We did
And he's
again,
still
okay.
there.
Oh, he's here.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
I'm here. Great. I do have a question.
sure.
What's the water memorandum you mentioned?
So the water department right now is not issuing out any more water tie-ins because the town has a situation with water levels.
Right.
I know I'm not supposed to be talking to the petitioner right now because.
Well, I mean, this is okay.
But
This
I'm
is-
explaining something to him. That's
No,
all.
I no, that's fine, absolutely.
So, the last water tie-in that just came in was right behind you, Mr. Avila, on the property that has the bond behind you.
Yeah.
He got the last tie-in. The reason why I know is because I'm involved in that one, and that was, I was told then there's no more being issued at this moment in time until we can get a different water. We're short on water. We have a water situation in the town of Dayton. Unfortunately, even though we have houses that can, they're Form A lots, they still can't get a water tie-in because we don't have enough water in the town of Dayton right now. That's where that comes in, whether that, by the time you get your structure up and all that stuff, but Mr. Aguirre wouldn't be able to issue a building permit without water tied into it. Certificate of occupancy, let me reword that. You'd be able to, but you build it, but you wouldn't be able to tie into it until it's ready. That's going to be a downfall. That could be only be a few months. It could be a year. I couldn't honestly answer that. Something you might want to reach out to the water department on. Also on your house and the water line that was galvanized, they want to change that, as we heard from that. So when we making a condition on this property, we would make sure that that's notified that the water line would be changed if it is galvanized, which I feel it would be.
Greg, can I just ask you a question, which is, this is Jonathan Gale, which it's kind of curiosity question here because we've already approved this and so forth. But if Alex were to ever go back and consider what you thought about as opposed to this of extending the original garage and then adding the second floor to that, if that original garage had any sort of plumbing to it, does that change anything?
Not at all. He has a tie-in at this moment in time.
Okay.
Do we know if Mr. Symbolisti were to install his own water pump, like his own well, he would not, he would.
The problem is you see the frontage setbacks with the water and the river frontage, he'd be picking into salt and he would have a lousy water level. The water wouldn't be proper for him for drinking.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Greg, there's no, and I know this is off topic and I appreciate.
No, that's all right.
Mentioning, so like Peter said, I believe, so it wouldn't be grandfathered in where it's you're still on the property, like it's still.
Well, it's a brand new structure. Remember we were talking earlier, Peter even brought it up, it's another building onto a structure, so it's a brand new structure. If that was attached to your barn, your garage, bingo, no problem.
Right.
Being how it's a separate entity of a new proposed building, that's why the water thing is going to be an issue. There's something, you could talk to the water department, whether they let you go from your house over to it. I doubt it highly, but that's what's been going on in town.
So-
That's why that was read into the record earlier today.
So I can read if you'd like, I can read the specific water connection moratorium language so that everyone's on the same
That way
page.
he understands it. That'd be great.
Yeah, so, okay, so it says, section 3, water connection moratorium. For a period of 2 years from the effective date of this regulation, which was June, the district shall not approve applications for new connection to the district's public water supply system as follows. Residential uses. This moratorium will apply to new residential lots that are not on record with the Registry of Deeds as of the date of this moratorium. New residential subdivisions and lots shown on approved, not required plans that are recorded with the Registry of Deeds after the effective date of the moratorium will not be approved for water connections during the time period that the moratorium is in effect. The moratorium does not apply to lots that are shown on existing plans on record with the Registry of Deeds as the effective date of the moratorium. Here's the important point. New multifamily developments will not be approved for water connections during the moratorium, irrespective of whether they on pre-existing lots or newly created lots. So that's.
So that I heard something on that could go both ways in his.
Yeah, I did too, Greg. Yeah.
So you might.
All right.
I don't want you to feel like you're not going to get something. You might want to follow up with that before you spend a ton of money.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, you said, you know, I gotta have water. So, I mean,
yeah,
I'm gonna go forward and then build everything and then not have a water
sit there and be nothing. And
for another year. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of.
But it did say on existing lots, we're not subdividing your lot.
Right,
Isn't
exactly.
that, Peter?
Right.
We're not subdividing it, so.
Right, so
one lot.
What I see in this, what I hear without reading the whole thing, Greg and Peter and everybody, I hear of it more like a new lot, new development, new this, but then at the end, it kind of goes the other way. So
The reason why I wanted to bring it up to you is Mr. Avila behind you, he has a structure on an existing building. It's just a barn right now. And we're going to be building him a home. And when we went to get it, we were told we were the last one for a water hookup. So it's kind of the same situation. There was a structure that was on the property, but it didn't have water. Now you already have water, so this might not be a situation for you. I don't know. That's something you might want to follow up with them.
Your argument can almost be you're not using any more water than what you're using now, because you're just taking one body and moving it to a different location.
There was also a reference. There was also a reference there to having an existing plan.
Right.
And you have an existing plan.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it works. I just wanted to, you know, I hate to see you do all this and then not be able to do it.
Right. All right. So
Great,
that is
thank you.
it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much, Alex. Thank you. All right. So is there anything else that we have amongst the board to discuss for this evening? We've already set our next meeting. Is there anything else on my computer has gone on sleep mode? Just gonna double check the agenda now. That is it. Jonathan, there's no minutes, correct? I don't see anything here.
No, we already took care of everything.
Yep.
So we're ready to adjourn.
All right. That being said,
Just for clarification, the next Strawberry Fields is on the what date?
That's August 13th.
13th.
Okay, and that's going to be a Zoom meeting again?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Mr.
Motion.
Chairman, I am making a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Is there a second?
Second, Jonathan Gale.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. You guys are all set. Thank you, Cable. We're all set.
Good night,
Night,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
Stay
everyone.
safe and healthy, guys.